Hey you guys, it's so good to see you. I am doing a different video today because I have now reached 1,000 subscribers, which is it's so awesome, and I can't believe that's happened so fast either. And I'm so thankful for every one of you that wanted to press that subscribe button and want to follow me and see what I do in the field. So that is, yeah, I'm lost for words. I don't know what to say, you guys, but thank you 1,000 times. So today I'm going to talk about my journey as a photographer, as a wildlife and bird photographer, how it all started, what equipment that I started with, and how I approached the animals and birds, and the process along the way, how I got from where I am today. So hopefully there will be some tips in between there that you can pick up and maybe use yourself. But I know that this is not interesting for everyone that is subscribed, but to you guys I'm going to tell you that if you hang in there, next week I'm going to a special hide. It's a collaboration with some friends. We have a bird hide. I'm not going to tell so much, but the birds, they have claws. So I'm really excited about that film and how that's going to be. So hang in there, and next week will be a video in the field again. Okay, let's get started with my journey as a photographer. So for me, it all started in 2010. I was going to with a trip to Thailand with my wife, and I got to borrow a DSLR from my brother. So he has had an Olympus camera. I don't know what the brand is, what the model is, but I got to loan that and try it to document the trip actually. But we went on a trip to an island where there was a lot of monkeys and birds and stuff like that. So I really tried to sneak up. I had a 18-55 lens on, so yeah, it wasn't optimized for the bird and wildlife photography. But the monkeys, they just were there, and I got to sneak up on them and take some pictures. I'm not sure if I can find a picture. If I found them, you already seen them on the screen. When I got home from Thailand, I was saving up for a DSLR myself. I went and bought a Nikon D300 together with a Nikon 55-200. It wasn't a long range, but I also tried out a Sigma 70-300. But I didn't think that was too sharp, especially in the 300mm. So I went for the 55-200 for Nikon. So for me, I just went out, as I guess everybody does, just finding all the birds and animals that you can come over. So I went to local forest and local places where I know there are birds. Of course, I also went to the park and to photograph tame ducks and gulls and stuff like that. But I remember going into to a local wood where there was springtime, and there was a lot of birds coming back from the winter places, and it was birds everywhere. So I just sneak up on them and try to photograph as best as possible. But of course, that was so hard because the birds were everywhere, and they were always between branches to hide themselves, because they don't want to be exposed by humans. So I remember taking a lot of pictures. I then thought was really, really great. But as I look at them now, there are really hard side light, as you can see from the picture here. It was really, really noisy in the background with the branches and twigs and stuff like that. So the bird was actually drowning in the background. I remember in May that year, I talked to a local guy that also was a photographer, and he explained to me that well, in the springtime we can use some sound to attract the birds to maybe get them closer, but not too much because then it could be stressful for the bird. So I get out and try that. And tried with the most common bird in Norway, which is the willow warbler. So I found a good place and just starting to play the sound of that bird. And that bird is actually really eager in order to come with when we're playing the sound. So the bird came quite fast and was of course every places, and I finally got to photograph it with an open area. So I was so happy. It was my inside was actually bubbling because I finally did get a sharp picture, because it was quite close with the 200 millimeter, and it was clear of everything in the background, and the lighting was okay. So I was so happy. But of course, when I study it afterwards, it's I don't like to take photograph with the blue sky in the background, but I remember the feeling that I got when I got this picture. That was awesome. So that was my kickstart as a bird and wildlife photographer. So after that, I just pushed to getting better with the equipment that I got. It wasn't the best camera at ISO. It has I think there was ISO 400 as the best. When I push it to 800, you start to see a lot of noise and wasn't any good. And also I didn't have that long lens range. I have the 200 millimeter, so it wasn't too much. But I got to learn my camera 100%, so I knew how it reacts to every situation. And also I just need to learn how to approach birds and wildlife different, because I have not that kind of reach with just a 200 millimeter. So of course I went and bought a blind and put out a feeder in my garden. And in order doing that, the birds come to me, and I got to get them closer. So in the wintertime, there come the regular birds in Norway, which is the blue tit and gray tit. So I remember also that time when I got that picture that I was after of especially the blue tit. I love the blue tit and the colors and the character of the bird. So I remember when getting a picture that I was really happy with. It was sharp and was a good twig that it sat on, and I was just happy with that. I remember also that where my parents living 1 hour outside my city, so there is a different type of birds that I have here. And especially one type of bird that calls windchat was a really awesome bird that I remember from my childhood. It's living in an open area, and they are flying from bushes to bushes. So I remember trying to sneak up on them because that was an awesome looking bird and I want to photograph it, and I also have memories of it as a child. But the challenge was that it was an open area with almost no places to hide for me. So trying to sneak up on that bird there with a 200 millimeter, and you thought he was close enough, and you look at the camera and you see that he's just a little dot in the picture. It was really disappointing. But I took some picture. I thought it was great at that point, and but started to dream that someday I maybe get a longer lens, and someday I will get more closer to the birds. Actually, that bird there I have used a lot of times researching, and of course now I got more range with a 500 millimeter, and I started to look at the behavior of the bird, and start for a long distance and just use my binocular to observe the behavior, and you see that they have different type of bushes that I like to sit on, and I just posted near that bush, and yeah, when I waited for a long enough time, they came and sit on the perch, and I was camouflaged, and they didn't care of the clicking noise, and I got some great images that I was really happy about. So I also had a dream of taking a picture of the red squirrel. The red squirrel I had a childhood memory about in the books, and yeah, when we are out hiking we saw red squirrels in the trees. So I really wanted to photograph it, and because the animal has such a cute character with the ears and the hairs on the ear, and yeah, the total character of the red squirrel was so exciting to photograph. So I started a feeding place in a local forest, and actually it didn't took long. It was actually a week before the red squirrel appeared, and that was so good to see the red squirrel. So I couldn't wait for a long time. I had to get up with a camera and try to photograph it. And as you can see in the picture here, this is my first picture of the red squirrel ever taken. So that was beginning of a great start with the red squirrels. As you have probably seen from my last video, I have photographed the red squirrels a lot. So this is just an awesome place to go to when you just need to have the peace, and after a hectic day at work, and yeah. So that is was my biggest project, and was really awesome to have produced a lot of great pictures from that place. When the time went on, I saved up for a bigger range. So I looked at I remember I looked at the old Sigma version of 150 to 500 millimeter, and I saved up, and my dad was willing to pay the rest that I didn't get on the birthday gift, and went out and bought that lens. That was awesome to just go from 200 millimeter to 500 millimeter. That was, yeah, mind-blowing. But I used that for a long time and was really happy with it. I got some good picture with it. And then I started to dream of a 300 millimeter 2.8, which has a faster f-stop. And I got the opportunity to buy a used Sigma together with a teleconverter. And that was an awesome lens, and I got some great pictures. It has some issues with the sharpness at 2.8, and also was a little bit hunting on the autofocus. But I used that for a good time and produced some great images, and yeah, it was awesome. And then I got the opportunity for a used Nikon 2.8, which I have now. You've seen it in the other videos, This is a non-VR, but it's really sharp at 2.8 and also has a good autofocus, and it's sharp with the teleconverter as well. So this is an awesome lens and gonna stick with me for a long time. So my big dream, it was also a 500 f4. That has been a dream since I started the photography, but it's really expensive lens. So I didn't know how I'm going to make the money to buy it. But for 4 years ago, I started a workshop in the red squirrel forest, taking clients there to photograph the red squirrel and learning about the wildlife photography. And that gave me the opportunity to save up for 500 f4, which I now have. This is an awesome lens. It's sharp and it's fast, and yeah, it's everything I need. I'm not going to talk so much about my equipment as in this video, but I just want to show you how I started and where I am now. So this is gonna stick with me for the rest of my life. So that was how I started with the equipment and how I am today. So I'd love to hear from you guys. How did you start? What equipment did you start with? What did you get inspired to start photography? Let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear from you. I need to wrap this up. It took a long time to do this. I hope this was something that you got out of it, some interest of tips and tricks. But I again want to thank you for subscribing to my channel and leaving me comments, all the nice comments, and giving me a thumbs up. That's really helped me a lot. I will see you next week when I'm going to the Hide. I'm really excited about that and showing you this place. And yeah, so until next time, I will see you. Bye.